Медіа-центр Україна продовжує.
Ukraine Media Center continues its work. We are supported by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. I'd like to thank Kyiv Total for accommodating us. And now we have spokesperson of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, Oleksandr Motuzyanyk, who will tell us about current situation on the front lines and combat areas. You're welcome, Oleksandr. Good afternoon, dear friends. Traditionally, I'd like to share with you some information about Russian military aggression against Ukraine as of today, April 1, year 2022. The Russian Federation continues its wide-scale armed aggression against Ukraine. The enemy has been systematically making rocket strikes and aviation strikes against critical infrastructure facilities in our country, as well as governmental buildings and residential quarters in Russian cities and towns. Russian troops have been rearranging, regrouping, and probably concentrating their efforts on an offensive operation in the eastern area of operations. There has been partial withdrawal of Russian troops from Polisia and Siversk directions. At the same time, the occupiers continue to prepare to move additional troops and reserves from eastern military districts to engage them in combat actions in Ukraine. In the Volyn direction, military units of the Republic of Belarus are strengthening the defense of Ukraine, protection of Russia, Ukraine-Belarus border. In Polisia direction, there has been no offensive action, no assault by the enemy. The enemy has concentrated its efforts on maintaining their positions they previously took, rearranging their troops and withdrawing them to the Republic of Belarus to restore their capacity. To protect the withdrawal of those troops, unfortunately, the enemy has been mining the infrastructural facilities and the territory and using artillery. At the same time, military units of Ukrainian armed forces have retaken control of Demidov, Dimir, Litvinivka, Gavrilivka, Kozarovichi, Жовтневе, Glibivka, Yasnogorodka, Makoviще, Mykolaiivka, Khmelna, as well as a number of other towns and villages. In Siversk direction, the enemy continues to siege Chernihiv. At the same time, we see some movement of the troops of Russian Eastern Military District into areas which are at a short distance from Ukraine's state border. After the withdrawal of the enemy, Ukrainian units have taken control of a number of towns and villages, including in particular Rudnya, Shevchenkova, Makiivka, Pogrebi, Bazhanivka, Volodymyrivka, Sofiivka, and others. In Slobozhanщина direction, the enemy continues the siege of Kharkiv and artillery shelling on Kharkiv. On the positions they have taken, the occupiers switched to defense and they rearranged their troops probably to renew their offensive action. We also see that they bring additional ammo for their artillery units. Around the city of Izum, the enemy continues to maintain those pontoon bridges via Seversky Donetsk river to maintain preparedness for assault action. During the day, there was combat action towards Malaka Myshuvacha, but there the enemy was stopped by our military. The enemy is probably to strengthen their group in Izum area using certain units from the 1st Tank Army and the 20th Army of Russian Armed Forces. In Donetsk area, the enemy continues firing and assault actions in certain areas, making aviation strikes against towns and villages. The enemy focuses its efforts on taking control of Popasna and Rubizhna, as well as taking complete control of the city of Mariupol. In southern Bug area, units of occupational forces continue firing using artillery towards our positions. In order to improve their tactical situation, the enemy tried to advance towards Alexandrivka. The enemies have been using Ukrainian children as a living shield when moving their convoys, their vehicles. According to reports by local civilians, in Malybiki village in Chernihiv province, Russian soldiers have used Ukrainian children as hostages, putting them on their trucks. They are doing it in order to protect their vehicles when moving. Also, occupiers use those children as hostages as a guarantee that the local civilians will not provide the enemy's coordinates to Ukrainian defenders. Cases where children have been used as a shield have also been reported from other provinces, including Sumy, Kyiv, Chernihiv, and Zaporizhia oblasts. There have been cases of brutal behavior against minors have been documented by Ukraine and international institutions. And we'd like to emphasize that information in each and every case will be given to international criminal courts, and occupiers will be brought to liability for each and every military war crime that they commit. And at the end, traditionally, dear friends, I will mention the losses of the enemy since the beginning of its armed aggression until today, April 1. So, on the total, Russian occupation forces have lost 17,700 in manpower, 625 tanks, 1,751 armed fighting vehicles, 316 artillery systems, 96 multiple launch rocket systems, 54 air defense systems, 143 aircraft, 131 helicopters, 1,220 cars and trucks, 7 ships and boats, and 85 tactical level UAVs, as well as 24 special vehicles and 4 rocket launch systems, as well as 76 tanks with fuel and lubricants. Dear friends, that's all information at the moment. Thank you for attention. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to heroes. Thank you, Oleksandr, for this information. You're welcome to ask your questions. Please use the microphone and introduce yourself.
Okay. Russia has accused Ukraine of launching airstrikes with helicopters against an oil storage facility in the region of Belgorod. Can you comment on that? Did Ukraine have anything to do with this attack on this oil storage facility in Russia?
Thank you for your question. I'd like to emphasize that as of now, Ukraine has been defending itself. It's a defense operation to resist Russia's military aggression in the territory of Ukraine. And it does not mean that Ukraine has to bear liability for all those catastrophes and all those events that happen within the territory of the Russian Federation. This is not the first time where we see such accusations. So, dear friends, I will not confirm nor disprove this information. Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions?
Vanguardia Spain. Yesterday, President Zelensky sacked 2 generals, accusing them of treason. I would like to know if you can be more specific about what exactly what mistakes they perform in order to be removed by the president.
Maybe I'll answer your question, because those generals who have been dismissed are not from the armed forces of Ukraine. Those are generals from the security service of Ukraine. So this question is not exactly for Mr. Motuzyanyk. This is a different agency. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Any more questions?
The head of the UK's armed forces yesterday said that he believes that Russia's ambitions to take Kyiv and take the whole country have fallen apart. Do you agree with that assessment? Do you believe that Russia has now given up on trying to take the capital?
Thank you. We have some data, also from the UK intelligence, because between our countries and between our uniformed agencies, we have maintained exchange of information. And now we see that Russian units are being partially withdrawn from Kyiv and Chernihiv Oblast, partially. But at the same time, what is the enemy's goal? We cannot forecast it for the future. We cannot forecast the prospects, and it does not allow us to reduce the defense capacity of our cities, including the capital city. We should be ready for any sort of developments in this situation. Indeed, currently, the Russian forces and troops are clearly insufficient to attack the capital city. But what will happen in the future, time will show. Thank you. Any more questions?
Героям слава.
Glory to heroes.
Irpin today because some of my friends live there and their friends still live there. And I talked to people who were coming out of Irpin, and they wanted to know, they asked me, what will the government do about the war crimes that have been committed against them during the occupation that they've suffered?
Thank you. I'm not authorized to comment for the Ukrainian government as a whole, but I'd like to emphasize that all information about war crimes committed by Russian military within the territory of Ukraine is being documented, and later it will be submitted to international judiciary institutions, legal institutions, in order to properly assess it and bring the Russian Federation to international criminal liability. About the city of Irpin, currently elimination of the consequences is continues there after Russian occupiers were thrown away from Irpin. Of course, Ukrainian military and other uniformed agencies in Irpin find a lot of mine traps, minefields. Infrastructure has been destroyed and so on. So at the moment, it's too early to return to the city of Irpin. Thank you.
Sorry, there's no one else wanting to ask questions. I'll continue. I'm sorry to return to the oil storage facility attack in Russia, but obviously it's being reported very widely by the Russian side, and it's obviously being picked up by international media, these comments. So I'm curious as to why you don't want to clarify whether or not Ukraine did launch this attack against the oil facility. Is it just because you don't want to respond to false claims by the Russian side, or is it because you don't want to give any information about potentially an actual attack that Ukraine has conducted?
Dear friends, I have already answered this question and I have nothing to add here. Thank you. Thank you, you're welcome.
If I'm not wrong, President Zelensky yesterday also awarded 136 servicemen of the army because of the way they perform their duties. Is it the first time that military are condecorated during this war?
Of course, this is not the first case of such awarding. A lot of Ukrainian servicemen who heroically defend Ukraine have already been awarded, decorated with state awards, as well as awards of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and other military units. Unfortunately, Ukrainian servicemen have also been awarded posthumously, some of them. From time to time, such decrees are published on the website of our president, so you're welcome to watch it. I would like to emphasize that each and every Ukrainian service person will be properly decorated and will give proper honors to those who died, and will decorate our heroes who continue living. Thank you. Oleksandr, could you please comment on the situation in Kyiv direction there around Chernobyl nuclear power plant? What the situation at the moment? Because in the morning there were some reports that Kyiv has been completely liberated. Now there is some action continuing, so I cannot comment now. Please wait for official news from the General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces. You're welcome.
President Zelensky at the NATO summit, he asked for NATO allies to give them 1% of all tanks and jets, and there was a conference yesterday in the UK where it seems like the UK is going to be giving longer range missiles to Ukraine. Can you talk about that? Are you starting to receive tanks or any more lethal weapons from the allies? And can you talk about what more you need?
Again, here, based on my position and here on this venue, I cannot comment on international cooperation. I'm not authorized to comment on that. At the same time, on behalf of the Ministry of Defense, I would like to thank every country for supporting our country, for all that international technical and advisory help and support that allies and partners have been providing to Ukraine. Thank you. Any more questions?
Yesterday, my government in Australia announced that they will be sending Bushmaster armoured vehicles from Australia to Ukraine. Are you also aware that they will be sending instructors on how to utilise these vehicles and train our soldiers in Ukraine to operate them?
Dear friends, I'd like to repeat again, I do not comment on international technical cooperation. What we need in Ukraine currently, that's clear. First of all, it's about international support, and of course it includes defense weapons and technical intelligence means, air defense means to cover our cities, to protect our cities, and other items. We will thank the international community for any type of help and assistance they provide to our country. That's it at the moment. Thank you. Thank you, Oleksandr. Thank you. I'll let you go. Thank you, friends, for being with us. I'd like to remind you that you're welcome to monitor our announcements. Right now, we are developing the schedule of our briefing.